Hey guys, this is Allure Cosplay and this is vlog number 6 out of my Mechaqueen series. Today I actually have Raptorian Pharah here because Blizzard decided to change their background, and on this camera you can't really see Mechaqueen's white, it just gets lost with the background. So just for today we're gonna use Raptorian Pharah because they have the same exact design, they just have different colors. So for the last 2 weeks I've been working on the leg armor pieces. I don't know what they're called. And they have been a pain of my existence. Let me tell you why. The first problem I had to figure out was that those are enclosed pieces. That means that there is no spot for Velcro or anything like that for it to hold together. There's no spot for strings. So how was I going to get my foot in there? That was like a really big problem that I had, and I needed to figure out how to make it look like it's all enclosed and I still got my feet in there. The second pain of my existence was this weird little bend that both of those pieces have, and they go all the way around. I had a really hard time figuring out a pattern that will actually make that for some reason. So I kind of worked it out, but let me show you what I mean by that. So how did I work it out? This was my failure. First off, I had to show you that first. To make the pattern, first I wrapped my leg around with some foam, like really squishy foam. Then I wrapped around with plastic. Then I wrapped that around with some tape. And then on top of that, I drew my pattern. Then I cut the pattern out and I transferred it onto paper. So my first patterns looked something like this. By the way, if you want to see the patterns or the progress photos, they're on Facebook. I have a whole album dedicated to Mechaqueen, so you feel free to go check it out there. This was my first pattern, then I transferred it onto paper, then I transferred it onto foam, and then I glued it together. So what were my problems with my prototype? Well, first off, the bend over here, yeah, it was not there. I needed to work on that. Second of all, this is really pointy, and this actually stabs my leg. So there's actually a part on top. This is not where your knee goes. There's another plate that goes on top. This is underneath your knee. So for my second version, I kind of fixed the angle, I guess, on the top right here. With this I tried making the little grooves right here that will help the foam bend and create that little almost like a hourglass shaped thing that they have going on. However, my pattern was just not right, so my lines came out really straight, so I had to figure out how to fix that. I actually made another pattern which had quite a big pronunciation where you're supposed to have a bend, but to me it looked really ridiculous. So that was my second failure, and I did not even transfer it onto foam because once I actually taped the pieces together, because once I transferred it from my original pattern to paper, I taped the pieces together to see what it looks like, because I don't want to waste foam if I think that this is not going to work out. I needed to, however, see the first mistakes and what I needed to fix, so I had to do the first one at least in foam to know what to fix, kind of thing. So these, by the way, are like my bills and stuff. That's where I get my scrap paper from. I just use my old bills for it. Anyways, for my third pattern, I actually did a very slight bend. And these angles are not as harsh. They're a little bit softer, and going all the way around. They're all like that. So for my new bracer, there is a slight angle It's not a bracer. I keep calling it a bracer. I'm really sorry, guys. This is a leg armor. So this goes all the way around to all points. How did I put my foot in there? Because we all have a heel, and that doesn't fit in a small spot like that. No matter how much you straighten your leg, it just will not fit. So what I had to do is leave this part open. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put a magnet here and on the other side, and that will just close by itself once I put it on. The top part over here is one piece. So I have glued all the pieces together. There's a piece of tape here because sometimes, by the way, when I work with foam, if I need the foam to stay a certain way once I glue it, I will put pieces of tape on top just to hold it while it's drying and then take it off. So I have just forgotten to take this one off. There we go. So that things like this don't happen, because you get like those little edges that kind of separate sometimes. So to prevent that from happening, when I see it happening, I put some tape. This time I hadn't seen it happen. How do we fix those? I use either silicone or the, what do you call that? Caulking. I use either or. I've heard the caulking is better. I have silicone, so that's what I've been using because I still have a whole tube of it. Anyways, there's also a detail over here on each side that actually has this geometric kind of a diamond shape, and my friend kindly is sanding these for me to have that geometric shape, and I'm gonna glue them on top. And so this whole thing, because it's EVA foam, you can prime it with Plasti Dip, which is what I usually use. However, this stuff is insulation foam, and if you put some Plasti Dip on top of it, it's just gonna melt. So what you have to do is coat this in something like a wood glue first. Make sure you have quite a few coats so that the whole thing is covered, and then on top of that you can use Plasti Dip just to do the whole piece. You don't have to, but you can just use the wood glue. However, I found that if you just use the wood glue, it tends to crack more because Plasti Dip has a bit of a rubber coating on top, so it kind of keeps it stronger, in my opinion. I don't know, you can use whatever you want to use. That's just what I used. How does this compare to this? Again, this one is much bigger, this one is much smaller. This no longer hits the underneath of my knee because I need to put another plate on top of it that is the actual knee plate, and this clearly did. Also, putting this on, it fit nice and snug. However, that was fitting without the boots that I was gonna wear, because I have boots that I'm gonna wear, and that's why I had to just make it also bigger around here. Again, the bend, there's a little bit of it. Again, honestly, when I tried the more angled kind of an approach, it looked really weird in real life, and I decided to just go with this. I am a person who makes my own patterns. It takes me a lot longer to understand the Pepakura files rather than just sit down, stare at the image, and make my own pattern, like draw it on myself or something like that. However, if you're using Pepakura, I applaud you, because I cannot do it. That is a skill, like, I guess I have to hone. So I applaud you for figuring it out. I would have definitely benefited from having the design and the layout and all of that. If I had spent the money and I have bought the pattern for it, that would have benefited me to make this, because this was really hard for me to figure out pattern wise. So if you have problems, or if you struggle making patterns and things like that, definitely use Pepakura, because that is given to you, and maybe that will be a lot easier for you. It's usually not for me, but in this case, I definitely would have been way better off if I had those patterns. So I do recommend them. So another thing I wanted to talk about is, while I was making this, I didn't actually notice that there's a raised detail over here. And when I was making the second version, I was using the same pattern but slightly altered so it doesn't give it the same angle to do this. And I had put the glue on that piece and I was about to glue it, and I was looking at my reference and I noticed that there is a detail right there that I was missing the whole time. So I just threw that piece out and I made a new pattern, and there you go. I did not forget about the detail in this one. That's something I definitely wanted to mention because it's important to me. I don't know why. There's some other details that I have to burn into the foam first before I even heat seal it and then prime it. That's probably going to be left for another time when I'm going to do most of the pieces all at the same time, and I'm going to burn the detailing into them at the same time. I am just trying to build as much as I can so that I have things to be working on. I don't know if that makes sense. It does to me. After this, I'm going to try to make the other bracer as quickly as possible. Now that I have the pattern for this, it's going to be much quicker. Usually the first piece takes me a lot longer than the second piece because I'm still figuring out the pattern, and that's just how I work. I don't know. Anyways, guys, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. This has turned out to be a longer vlog than my usual vlogs. So thank you so much for joining me. Subscribe, favorite, and like, and all that jazz. And happy cosplay. Bye.